1953, the crowning year. A moment in our country's history when a young and well-loved queen helped turn our thoughts to the glories of our past, that we might consider again the richness of our heritage. This was a year of splendor and spectacle, of dignity and grace, the beginning of the new Elizabethan age. Early in the year, the most expert in our land began the task of transforming London into a gay and festive setting for the Queen's coronation. Then, on the last days of January, disaster swept the east coast of England. In a single night, the land from Lincoln to Kent lay flooded. Town upon town, acre upon acre of country was desolated. At the final count, 307 people had died. Almost at once, the Queen visited her people who had suffered so grievously. Her husband, too, was there, as work began to keep back the threatening sea. In March, Queen Mary died. Long had she been with us, until it seemed that time itself could not overcome the resolute spirit that had borne her through the years. The people she had loved, and who loved her so dearly, paid tribute to the lady who was, above all, a great queen. It was Queen Mary's wish that preparations for the coronation should go on. In skilled hands, the emblems of majesty were made ready. June the 2nd was fast approaching. Soon it was Grand National Day. 31 of the world's finest jumpers pitted their skill against 30 of the world's trickiest jumps. When Larry Finn came to an abrupt halt, Jockey Thompson went on by himself. Only 5 horses were on their feet at the finish. Irish-trained Early Mist romped home the winner by 20 lengths. Stanley Matthews was the hero of the cup final at Wembley. His centre found Perry, who crashed it home for the goal that won Blackpool the match. And the ranks of Bolton fans could scarce forbear to cheer the maestro who had helped his team to a 4-3 victory in his 3rd cup final. The most coveted football trophy of them all went to Blackpool for the first time. June the 2nd, Coronation Day had dawned at last. The moment we had planned for was almost here. As the chill morning light crept across the face of the city, the vast crowds made ready to welcome their sovereign. Then from the palace stepped Her Majesty, clothed in her rich robes of state, a sparkling diadem upon her brow. As the Queen and Prince Philip entered the gilded coach, their children looked down from a palace window. Through the streets of the capital moved the coach, on past cheering millions along the royal route to Westminster Abbey. The congregation rose as the Queen moved in solemn procession. Divested of her state robes, the Queen, clothed in a simple white gown, was escorted to St. Edward's chair for the anointing ceremony, by which she was consecrated to be God's anointed servant. From the royal gallery, Prince Charles watched the robe royal placed upon his mother's shoulders. For now, following her anointing, the Queen was able to receive her emblems of majesty. When Her Majesty had accepted her royal regalia, the congregation rose to witness the supreme climax to the ancient ritual. With St. Edward's crown, the Archbishop of Canterbury performed the simple, yet the most significant ceremony of the Queen's coronation. In homage to his queen, the Duke of Edinburgh knelt before the throne. after princes and peers had vowed allegiance, the Queen retired for a short recess. Then, wearing the imperial state crown, she joined the procession from the Abbey. The service of coronation had ended. Meanwhile, the great procession to the palace had already begun. Men from nearly 50 lands marched in the Mammoth Parade that was the Empire's tribute to its sovereign lady. As the coach moved away from sight, the crowd surged forward in a spontaneous gesture of affection. Then, to delight the thousands who waited below, the Queen and her family stepped onto the palace balcony. So ended a proud day, one rich in memories for all the peoples of the Commonwealth. Joyfully we proclaimed her Elizabeth, our crowned Queen. Only a few days later came the Coronation Derby. Oriole, the Queen's horse, showed a bit of temperament before the start. As forecast, the race was a duel between Oriole and Pinzer, ridden by Gordon Richards. Up the last stretch, it was Pinzer all the way, with Oriole in second place. At last the champion, now Sir Gordon, had achieved his first ever Derby victory. Then came the Royal Naval Review. Nearly 300 ships of Empire and foreign fleets gathered at Spithead, where the Queen, aboard the dispatch vessel Surprise, took the salute. As Surprise moved down the lines, cheers rang out from every ship, each of which was dressed overall for this royal occasion. Then, in final tribute to Her Majesty, the fleets got, dare we say it, all lit up as night fell. Then it was the turn of the Royal Air Force to honour the Queen, who drove between the rows of aircraft at Odium Airfield in Hampshire. 300 planes, among them some of Britain's latest record-breaking jets, were on view. The men who fly and the men who keep them flying paid fitting tribute to Her Majesty. For English cricket fans, this was a year of triumph. At the Oval, Sir Jack Hobbs, as he now was, watched Dennis Compton make the stroke that won the Ashes from Australia after 20 years. How the crowds acclaimed the victorious English 11. Our thanks go to the visitors for a sporting tussle, but a special thanks to Len Hutton, who did a grand job. The Queen and Prince Philip made the ex-servicemen's coronation review one of the happiest events of the summer. In warm sunshine, 72,000 men and women paraded in Hyde Park. Then, in one enormous column, these veterans of three walls marched past the Royal Saluting Base. To the tunes that went with them into battle, the warriors of yesterday saluted their Queen. In September, troop ships began to bring the boys home again from Korea, now that the war had ended. First to arrive were ex-prisoners, among them Lieutenant Colonel Khan, who won the Victoria Cross with the 1st Battalion, the Gloucestershire Regiment, the Glorious Gloucesters, on the battlefront in Korea. In a moment, the months and in some cases the years of weary privation were swept away in the joy of reunion. In November, the 50,000-mile royal tour of the Commonwealth began. Her Majesty the Queen was to visit the most distant lands of her empire, where men and women of all races could pay their own tributes to the crowned head of our great family of nations. What more fitting finale to 1953, the crowning year.